Hi everyone, so today I wanted to talk about casting the kids. And when I was in school, I acted in school plays in 7th grade, and I took acting classes, and I never thought of it seriously. It was just like something I did for fun, act in the school, musical, sing, dance, all that stuff. But some of my classmates would take the bus or the train to the theater district. We lived about half an hour away, and they used to go audition for TV shows and Broadway shows and get cast on things like that. So I knew there's a huge community of children in the New York area who are acting, but when it came to looking for South Asian, I put it on Breakdown Express, which is usually where the casting managers go and the agents get the breakdowns every day for what jobs are available. And there are a lot of children who have managers, but there's still very few South Asian children. So I had a friend, Kastel, who was an amazing casting director, and she was working as an assistant at the time for some bigger casting agencies, but this was a smaller project she could take on her own. So initially, the first round of headshots and resumes, there were a lot of like Italian children and Latino children, but there were hardly any South Asian children. I think we only had 2 or 3 in the first round. So I told her, you know, I really want to be authentic. Like, I want an authentic Sikh guy who's wearing a turban who does comedy. And I don't want some weird fake brown face type situation that's like stuffed in his head. So similarly, I want an authentic queer person to play the brother. So I wanted an authentic South Asian kid because I thought those cultural elements were there. And finally, we auditioned like 40 kids, but out of them, only 5 or 6 finally ended up being South Asian, and there were a couple of really great ones, and some were too young. They were closer to 5 or 6 years old, but their parents were taking them out for auditions. So, you know, I would definitely ask, if you are a parent and your kids are interested in this, you know, definitely let them go for auditions or take them for auditions. And you don't have to move to Hollywood and live in a hotel and just eat ramen and go to Disney auditions all the time. But locally, there's so many things going on in the community theater or auditions for commercials. Now everything is remote anyway. So I would definitely encourage you to encourage your kids. And there are children's theaters also and all types of stuff around the country. So Abir Khan came in. He's South Asian, but he's Pakistani and Muslim. So although the character represents Halloween and it was a Halloween experience and wearing the Halloween costume, there were a couple of cultural things that I had to still teach him or show him. You know, if you are from a particular culture, you can't assume everybody celebrates the way you do. Like, everybody celebrates Christmas the way you do. There are so many different traditions, foods, even the dates can be different. Like in Spain, it's after New Year's, the Three Kings Day, you know? And then Abir had acted in some Target commercials at that point for Halloween. He played Dracula, so there was a fit there for what I was looking for. And he was just great. I had given everybody 1 page of sides, so he memorized the lines, and then I gave him notes, and he did it in a different way. So he was great at acting. He ended up on Hasan Minhaj's Patriot Act, and some of his clips went viral, and he was also on Mr. Robot and some other shows. If you are personally casting for children, you have to do the work. You can do street casting, you can send the breakdown to different agents. There are many ways of doing it. And for a different project I found one manager, and every single kid she would send in was amazing. And I wanted to cast all of them. And a lot of them ended up on Netflix shows within 1 or 2 years. So then I knew, okay, if I'm looking for this particular type of kid, then I should contact her. So those were things I learned in this process. And a lot of the kids who came in who were really good, I ended up casting them as the friends. So there was particularly one family, Roberto's family, and they were so dedicated, and all the kids had worked on projects before, and they were 3 of them, so they would come every time. And later on, when we were on the festival circuit, their relatives came to our screening in Rome at the Rome Web Fest. So it was really cute that something that started off as such a local small thing, once we were out in the world, like there were still connections to our cast and our crew all over the world, because we live in such a, you know, multicultural community. Some funny things happened also during the casting process. The ABC Disney Showcase, we had done the rehearsals at Ripley Greer Studios in Chelsea or Midtown West. That's like a very established place. A lot of the Broadway shows do auditions there. So when it was my turn, there were so many places I had done workshops around the city, but I decided I wanted to go back there because it's like a outstanding place. When I went back this time, I was on my own budget. So I ended up just booking the $8, $10, $12 room, and it said you can fit 3 or 4 people in there. So when I actually got there, it was a broom closet. It had an upright piano, and it was basically meant for one person to practice singing while playing the piano. There was barely any room to even stand behind the piano bench. So I was like, wow, they really gave us a broom closet. And how are people gonna react? Like, we know it's a small indie film, but this is kind of crazy to just have no space to even stand for 3 of us. But Carly was super professional, strictly positive, and she quickly set it up so that 3 or 4 of us could actually stand in the room at the same time. Like, she put the piano bench in the hallway, and anyway the parents were going to be coming and sitting with the children, so that worked out. Another thing I can recommend if you're a kid and you're going out for auditions is be confident, like have a practice, like believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself or nobody else is going to believe in you. And have a practice where you calm your nerves. If they give you sides, memorize everything, like read it out loud 20 times. That is a good way to memorize things, and show up and be professional. And one thing that turned me off was, like, I had one kid audition from Chicago, and every region is specific in terms of who's working there, casting directors or talent agents, and he in his mind was like a really big deal in Chicago, but I had never heard of the people he was name dropping. So to me it just seemed like, oh, this 9th grader is, or actually I think he was even in 6th grade, this to me it just seemed like, oh, this 6th grader is really arrogant and I don't really know the people he's talking about. They're not as famous as he thinks they are. Maybe they're famous in his area, in people who work with children's theater or something, but personally I hadn't heard of them in New York. So, you know, be humble but confident. And there's a lot of resources now for actors online or interacting with other actors on Twitter or Instagram. And another thing I had to consider working with children was keeping a safe environment. Even if their parents were there, they don't necessarily listen to their parents, or they get overly excited, or something can go wrong in an instant. And also nowadays you see so many shows about how there was something horrible going on backstage with the children on big network shows. So try to do your background research on everybody who's coming onto your crew and do like a background check. Definitely. I mean, some of those people were maybe wouldn't have shown up on a background check because they were trusted by the network for so many years, but you have to be wary of all those factors nowadays. And if you are a kid and you want to go to auditions, take a trusted parent or neighbor or somebody you trust with you, and you can find out about auditions either through Actors Access is one. If you have a rep, they will get auditions for you. There is also Backstage, which is the oldest newspaper. The printed version used to have classifieds. Now it's online. You can find all the casting calls in your area. And you can also do remote casting nowadays. Another important skill if you are going for auditions is taking directions. So you memorize it a certain way, but then if the director, gives you some direction and tells you to do it in a different way, just take a leap of faith and do it in a different way. Don't think to yourself, oh, but I practiced it this way with my mom and maybe you have an acting teacher or something. Just go with the flow because they want to see that you will take direction. And always remember there are a lot of other factors. There's a lot of rejection in this business. It's nothing personal against you if something works out or doesn't work out. So just approach it with hope and a good mindset and positivity and good energy. If it works out, it works out. There's also just the fun of learning a character and playing a character as you would want to do. So don't feel bad if you don't get something. Sometimes you really want a role and you don't get it, or it's like applying to college over and over again or something every single time. But that's just how the business is. And you should have other things that you also enjoy, like sports or your family and friends. Don't just become into what the auditions bring you. And you can put out your own content nowadays on YouTube or Instagram or just on your family network and learn about writing and directing and acting and all those things. There are so many more resources. You can go to the library, you can borrow cameras nowadays, so you can use a phone. So, there are a lot of options if you are a kid and you're interested in this more.